My sister Catherine was obsessed with the legend of the Whispering Man. It's all she talked about when we were growing up, and she was convinced that he used to visit her at night. She was wild when she spoke of him. Her eyes would widen to the point that they looked like they were about to pop, like bloodshot little balloons. I kept telling her that she should stop reading scary stories before bed, but she was adamant that it was not a story. She used to say how frightened he made her. "He's real," Catherine would say, after yet another sleepless night. It all began when we were around 15. Catherine and I were close once. We did everything together, but she began to change in a way that I did not like. She withdrew deeper and deeper into herself. Her obsession with the Whispering Man started to alter her appearance, alter her attitude, and she really scared me. Catherine would very rarely leave her bedroom, and when she did venture out, she would stare into nothingness, stare into empty corners. It was her eyes that frightened me, though. They were filled with such an overwhelming fear. I'd ask her what she was looking at, and her response would be a wild shaking of her head. On hot days, my parents and I often enjoyed evenings out in the garden. Catherine refused to come out with us. I tried to persuade her, but she just would not budge. She kept babbling on about the neighbor's dog and how it wasn't right. She would say that it spoke to her, told her horrible things, but she refused to tell me what these things were. My parents grew concerned and shipped her off to therapy, but nothing seemed to help, and eventually she refused to go. She said Mr. Jackson wasn't who he said he was, and it wasn't him anymore. We were at a loss. She blamed everything on the Whispering Man. I began to wonder about the Whispering Man, where he came from and why he plagued her so. One late, dreary night, she told me about him. "Stephanie, listen, please listen. The Whispering Man is real. He is real. I have seen him, Stephanie. Do you want to know his story?" "Yeah, okay," I told her, my worry apparent in my voice. I wanted her to stop. I wanted her to be like other normal girls, like the sisters of my friends. The Whispering Man isn't a legend. He isn't a story that adults use to scare their children into obedience. He is very real. He came to me after I received an email. I don't know where it came from. There was no option to reply, no way to forward it, and the email address itself did not exist. Do you want to see it? She got so close to my face then, and the smell that emanated from her burned my nostrils. It was a mixture of sweat, dirt, and strangely, sulfur. Catherine was so gaunt, and her skin had this alarming yellowish hue. She frightened me. Okay, Cat, sure," I said. Worry enveloped my face. She rushed to her bedroom and came back with her laptop. Her blood-red eyes scanned the computer screen. She looked so frantic. I've never seen anything like it. "Right, here it is," she said, turning the bright laptop screen toward my fear-stricken face. From unknown@xxxxx.com to Catherine123@xxxxx.com. Subject: have you seen or heard the Whispering Man? The Whispering Man can be short, and he can be tall. Sometimes he has no mouth, and sometimes he does. Sometimes that mouth contains rows upon rows of sharp, jagged, black teeth. On occasion, the Whispering Man will come to you, and he will be completely naked, his unnaturally long and lean body covered and obscured by tufts of coarse hair. Other times he's wearing a cloak that's stained with blood. The nature of your disappearance and subsequent death will depend on how he appears to you. Sometimes he has a face, and sometimes he does not. It's the way his features move and glide and gleam in the darkness which can make you think that his features change. It can also make you think that he is featureless, faceless. No one can confirm as to the Whispering Man's true appearance. If he comes to you and he has no eyes, then you're lucky because he won't be able to see you, despite being able to smell you. If you stay really, really still, then he will eventually go away. If he comes to you and he does have eyes, then there is no hope for you. His beady eyes will find you, and then his long, gangly fingers will wriggle toward you as you cower under your bed sheets. Escaping him is rare, and if you do, then you should never stop running because he will almost always find you. He is like a disease, a pestilence that you can never get rid of. Thoughts of him will plague your mind forever, and those thoughts will more than likely drive you to insanity. The Whispering Man can appear at any time, although he does prefer darkness, so he is more than likely to come to you at night. He will only come to you at night when he is about to take you, but he will stalk you for a few days first. You can see him anywhere, at any time. You can be in a room full of people, and no one will see him but you. That's how he isolates you from others. He will obscure himself in ways you cannot imagine, just to get to you. He can appear as a friend, he can appear as a family member, he can even appear as a bird, a dog, or a cat, just to frighten you. You will know something is wrong because the Whispering Man doesn't understand how to be human. He doesn't understand how to be an animal. His gait is slow and deliberate. He doesn't know how to carry himself. He doesn't know how to appear normal. You'll be able to tell because if you look at his disguised face for long enough, you'll be able to see it convulse, reshape, and shudder. The Whispering Man cannot smile. You will know when you see him because the Whispering Man can only walk sideways. He has no feet and is only able to awkwardly walk on his bleeding stumps. You will hear what he says to you in your head, and his voice is a loud, deafening whisper in your mind. It has been said that his voice will change depending on the person. He is stalking because he can make himself sound like anyone, anything. You hear him before you see him. Once you see him, you are his. Take care, Catherine, and watch out. I sat, unable to take my eyes off the screen. I was genuinely frightened. I was frightened for Catherine. She clearly wasn't doing well. "Do you believe me now?" she shouted at me, tears streaming down her pale, yellow face. "Cat, this is not normal. Someone obviously sent this to you as a prank. How can you believe it? Please, Cat, let us help you." I pleaded with her. She looked at me with such anger, such contempt. She snatched the laptop from my quivering hands and stormed out of the room, but before she did, she turned around and looked at me, sorrow lined in her features. "I have seen him, Stephanie. I have. That was the last time I saw my sister. She vanished the next day." Her bedroom was barren, unkempt. Books and clothes were strewn everywhere. Her room used to be brightly colored with posters lining each and every wall, but now it was so dark, so gloomy, as if someone had died in there. All we found in her room was a piece of bloodied scalp, her hair still attached, a severed finger, and a mountain of fingernails arranged in the shape of a body. We searched high and low for Catherine, but she was never found. The police had no leads. Eventually, the search was abandoned. My sister was slowly forgotten, an unsolved case. My parents were devastated, naturally, and so was I. I missed my sister terribly, and what I saw in her room has haunted me to no end. I've been thinking about the Whispering Man too. Is it possible? Could he have taken my sister? I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. Something happened to me recently that has made me question my reluctance to believe. I was up late one night, mindlessly browsing the internet when I received an email. My heart was in my mouth when I saw the subject line. "Have you seen or heard the Whispering Man?" I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I knew exactly what it said. Ever since my sister disappeared, those words had embedded themselves into my brain. The subject line gleamed and danced in front of my tired eyes. Suddenly, I saw something out of the corner of my eye, something pale, white, and gray. I turned and looked toward my darkened hallway. That was when I heard a silent voice in my head, a whisper. It was my sister's voice. "It's okay, Stephanie. We can be together soon." You hear him before you see him.